Hi, I'm Mike, and today we're working on a 2003 Honda Accord, and what we're going to be doing is setting the valve lash on this V6 engine here. And it doesn't require a lot of special tools or anything, but what you will need is a set of feeler gauges. And I have two different ones here. And this one is just angled, and this one is just straight. You're definitely going to need these to be able to do the job correctly. Other than that, it's just basic hand tools, and you'll be able to get the job done. I'm going to walk you through the steps. I'm going to show you how to do it, and it's pretty simple, and it's pretty similar for a bunch of Honda Accords. You have a couple options of figuring out what the specs are for the valve lash / clearance, or whatever you want to refer to it as. You can either look on their hook. Usually there'll be a sticker and it'll tell you what they are, or you can look in a repair manual. Okay, in order to get to the valves, what you're going to need to do is I have to remove a bunch of things here, like the intake manifold, the valve covers, and some other peripherals as far as hoses and connectors and things that in order to get to the valves and be able to adjust them. So let's get started. What I'm going to do first is disconnect the battery. Put it to the side so it doesn't make contact with the post. Okay, the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the dipstick here. Place it to the side for now. I'm going to remove this plastic cover. It's got these quarter turn screws here. Turn them a quarter turn to the left. And it's got this thing that here holds the wire for the O2 sensor. Just disconnect that and this thing should just pull right out. Just like that. Set it to the side. Start disconnecting some of these sensors here. You don't really have to worry about getting them mixed up because all these plugs are different, so they're not going to get mixed up. You know, put them to the side. Get them out of your way. Okay. Whenever you're doing a job like this and you're unfamiliar with the vehicle that you're working on, it's a good idea if you take a picture of the area that you're working in. This way when you're reassembling, you have something to reference, and it'll help you a lot. One little trick that I like to use to hold stuff like this out of my way is I like to use a little bungee cord and I'll hook onto it. This way you can get it out of your way. Something like that. This way you got room to get to wherever you're working. Okay, at this point, since you got all your peripherals, your hoses and connectors removed, now it's time to remove the intake manifold. This one happens to have this cover here. Just start removing the bolts. Once you get all those removed, this should just pop up like that. These gaskets are reusable because they are a metal, so you don't have to replace them. Just be gentle with them. You don't want to kink or bend them, then you may have to replace them. Okay, now that I got all these bolts removed, this should just lift straight out past these two studs. Once you get the intake manifold off, it's a good idea to cover these ports with some rags, because you definitely don't want anything falling down into the engine cylinders. Okay, at this point we're ready to remove the valve cover. It has about 4 or 5 10mm bolts. I've had good luck in the past reusing these seals or these gaskets with no problem. This back one's the same as the front, just the opposite. That sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? Now I got all the bolts loose. Should be able to lift this out of here. Okay, what I did was, since we're going to be working back here also, I had a little difficulty removing that valve cover. So what I did was I released this wiring harness from this channel down here with these plastic reservoir type of thing, and I removed these fuel injector harnesses for the fuel injectors back here, and I removed this grounding wire that goes right here with 10mm headed bolt. This way it gave me a little bit more flexibility here to get back to these valves when I'm adjusting them. One of these 10mm bolts that holds this timing belt cover guard on, it's kind of hard to get to. And then you got two choices. If you have a wrench like this, a double box offset wrench, 10mm, use that. If you don't, what you can do is actually move this tensioner out of your way and have somebody hold it, or you can hold it while you take this bolt out from here, because this is restricting the clearance to get to it. You probably don't have to remove this timing belt cover, but I like to, so I can see where the gear is at and what position I'm in as far as which cylinder is at top dead center. But it has this access port here where you can look through and see the numbers on the cam gear, but I like just removing it. It makes it easier for me to be able to see. Okay, the next step that I did was I jacked up the vehicle. I removed the tire. I got it sitting on a jack stand. And I got a 19mm socket going to the crank bolt with an extension, a jack stand, and a ratchet. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at this timing gear, and it has numbers on it. And right now we're at number 4. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there's a number 4 right there, and there's a line right here, and there's a line right there. You want to have those in line, and they're lined up, and that means you're ready to do number 4. And number 4 in this vehicle is this cylinder right here. These two here, this car has 24 valves. These two here are for the intake because it's closest to the intake, and these two here are for the exhaust because it's closest to the exhaust. Okay, the specs for this intake valve is 8 to 9 thousandths of an inch clearance when the engine is cold. Right now it's at room temperature, and that's when you want to make these adjustments, not when the engine is hot. It has a 10mm nut here that has a slided screw here, and that's how you make the adjustments. This thing moves up and down because it's a little loose now. Put this in there. Right now, this one happens to be set pretty good. That one's not bad. So we probably won't do that one. So I'll check this one. Actually, that's not bad too. Let's check the exhaust ones. Okay, for the exhaust, the spec is between 11 and 13 thousandths of an inch, and it's the same procedure as is for the intake. Okay, this one is a little tight, so I'll show you what we do. You want to loosen this 10mm nut. And this is your adjusting screw there. The nut is actually a lock. So I take my 12 thousandths, I'll back it up a little bit. There we go. Get it in there. Turn this clockwise until you feel it drag just a little bit. Okay, after you tighten that nut, you want to check it again because sometimes it actually moves. The setting moves when you tighten that nut. So double check to confirm that it's good. I like that. It's a slight drag, but not too much. That's what you're looking for. Okay, after rechecking the intake valves on this number 4 cylinder here, it turns out maybe it is just a slightly loose, so I am going to tighten it up a little bit. So just loosen the nut. And you can see where I got the feeler gauge, where it goes. And then just take your slider screwdriver and turn it until you feel a little resistance on the feeler gauge. That feels better. So you're going to want to hold this screw, the screwdriver, and tighten the nut, trying to keep that screw from turning. And then double check to make sure it feels good. Yep. Feels good. As you can see, this is not a difficult job, but it is a tedious job. You're going to want to take your time, go through the procedures and follow the steps. And take your time when you're adjusting these valves because you want to make sure you get it right the first time. You don't want to have to do this job again. And it should go well for you. Just take your time. And probably, if it's your first time, it'll probably take you all day to do it. You know, so make sure you have a day to do this job and take your time and make sure you adjust them correctly. And it should go very well for you. The reassembly is just the opposite. Take your time. Look up the torque specs, torque everything down to spec so you don't have any leaks or anything. And make sure, if you have a crow's foot and a torque wrench, you could tighten these nuts too with a crow's foot. So you can hold the screw with a screwdriver. And that's it. Good luck with your project.